We'll resume class. So lockout period. So everything here we consider is to allow us to price MBS values. Okay, like the question number 9. What is a lockout period in some mortgages, particularly for the mortgages purchased by the so-called GSEs? Lockout period mean that you cannot prepay your mortgages no matter what. Say 5 years, 3 years, 10 years after mortgage is issued or originated by the lender. Okay? Borrowers are not allowed to prepay, particularly in some government-sponsored programs such as Ginnie Mae's, Fannie Mae, and Freddie Mac's. Okay, if you borrower has some mortgages which are purchased by the two institutions, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or guaranteed by Ginnie Mae, you may not prepay your mortgages for the first 5 or 10 years of the lockout period. You're just not allowed by law. You can't prepay your mortgages. The main purpose for this lockout period is to make cash flows stable. If you have very stable cash flows, meaning that your value of, the value of your holdings of MBS will be very stable. Investors will have a kind of less risky asset in their portfolio. If lockout period is, say, 10 years, 5 years, during this period of lockout, you, as an investor, your security, the holding of your security is very safe. You don't have to worry about the pricing. You don't have the value. Nothing changes because you are within the lockout period. Nothing changes. No one can prepay unless they default. Okay, default is some kind of when some borrowers default on their mortgages, meaning that they are forced to prepay, forced to. So you can't control the default of borrowers. They just, perhaps like right now, the pandemic is so widespread, they are unemployed. They have to, default on their mortgages. They have nothing to pay. They lost their job. They have nothing to come. There's no income to receive, so nothing. So they just default. Okay. What is effective yield of mortgage? I think we'll come back to this. Effective yield meaning that you have points, discount points I just mentioned. You borrow $10,000, but you got $10,000, but you got the cash flow from your lender only $9,000. So $1,000 become your points, i.e. 10% is gone. So your effective yield of mortgage is much higher. Say 10% of your cost, but you got $9,000 out of $10,000 borrowed from a lender. So your points, your effective yield of mortgage or effective cost of mortgage from borrower's perspective, that's effective cost. From lender's perspective, effective yield for mortgage is higher than 10% because you pay your borrower only $9,000 out of $10,000. So 10% deducted or taken away from your lending, i.e. 10%. Your lending yield is much. Your lending benefit or interest rate is much higher than the coupon rate, so with 10%. Okay. BEY, bond equivalent yield. So bond equivalent yield gives us another benefits of investing in mortgage bonds, MBS, ABS, or CDOs. Okay. Asset securitization products offer you interest rate payments every month. You guys listen carefully. As an investor in asset securitization products or markets, you got paid every month. But for corporate bonds, government bonds, municipal bonds, investors receive coupon payments every 6 months. That's the key difference between MBS, or I mean the asset securitization securities, and so-called fixed income securities, corporate bonds, government bonds, municipal bonds, and so on. Right? Investors in securitization markets receive cash flows every month, interest rates and/or principals. And then we need to calculate the equivalent bond equivalent yield to convert mortgage-backed securities into corporate, the 6-month payment styled corporate bond or government bonds. We need to compare them to do so-called apple-to-apple comparison, okay, instead of apple-to-orange comparison. And BEY tells you that everything being held constant, the asset securitization products offer you a little bit higher yield than corporate bonds. Everything else being held constant, securitization products offer you a little bit higher yield. Okay? Will you be interested in that market when you are an asset manager for your government, for your company, for any individuals, wealthy individuals? If you have to put your money in fixed rate securities, securitization, asset securitization products will be your choice instead of corporate bonds, government bonds. Everything else being held constant. Okay, so make sure you understand this reasoning, right? What causes below market financing? So you can this is for adjustable rate mortgages in some markets, particularly in the United States. Below market financing, meaning that you as a seller of a house, you offer some financing for your buyer in order to raise or keep your house price intact. Okay. For instance, right now the market is so bad because of the pandemic, COVID-19, right? The virus. Okay. House price in lots of countries has plummeted. Therefore, a seller of a house wants to keep the house price intact. He or she offers buyer below market financing, i.e., the seller has the interest rate, the mortgage rate lower than the market rate, so that you want to offer the buyer a little bit the lower rate in order to keep the house price unchanged. Okay? So this is a kind of strategy, but not too many countries, have this in place. So you may not be able to do this. Perhaps only in the US, in the UK, or some other, the so-called civil law countries, which allow you to do this. Otherwise, for common law countries, you are not allowed to do this. I.e., mortgages are not transferable from A to B unless the lender agrees for you two parties to do the so-called transfer from one to another. Okay. Pros and cons of refinancing mortgage. I think it's kind of straightforward. Refinancing offers borrowers a good opportunity to lower the costs. Okay. Sometimes you got to pay some penalty because you repay too early. Borrowers, I mean, the lenders want to set the penalty in the documents that you have to pay for your so-called refinancing. Okay. Okay. Negative amortization, once again, as a gimmick or trick offered by lenders in the United States. Not too many other countries are allowed to do this. Okay, negative amortization, i.e., you amortize your mortgages in a escalating trend or escalating mode. You borrow $10,000 at the very beginning, but after 1-2 years later, your mortgage ballooned higher than the original amount you borrowed. Does it make sense? Well, that's a there's always trade-off between borrowers and lenders. Okay, when interest rates are moving upwards, okay, borrowers have a deal, sign a deal with lenders that you want to keep your monthly payments at a level, which would allow borrowers to pay a little bit less than the amount otherwise. I.e., interest rates are moving upward. You keep your interest rates unchanged. Lenders said, "Okay, we sign a contract, right? And you look at your PowerPoint to find the answers. I just give you the how it works, okay? So negative amortization happens when you have adjustable rate mortgages, but you're unable to pay monthly payments more than, say, $50,000 NT dollars per month. In Taiwan's case, $50,000 a month. Perhaps your salary is just 80,000 or 90,000. You want to pay monthly payments higher than 50,000 NT dollars. Then you sign a contract with your lenders. When interest rates moving upwards, your principal, your monthly payments would be adjusted accordingly. Interest rates are moving up, your mortgage rates would be adjusted upwards. Then your monthly payment would be adjusted upwards accordingly. Are you with me? So interest rates move up, your interest rates move up, and your monthly payments are getting higher and higher, right? And now you sign a contract with the lender. Then they said, okay, I keep your monthly payments at $50,000, but the difference between the interest, the difference of the amount you pay and the amount you should pay would be added back to your original mortgage balance. Make sense? Of course. You want to keep your monthly payment low, say $50,000 NT dollars. Then the lender says, okay, but I have to add the difference between your interest rate you pay and that you should pay back to your principal. I.e., when you borrow $10,000, after 1 year, 2 years later, your principal is going up from 10,000 to 15,000, for instance. Okay, so that makes sense because you don't want to have too much burden of paying your lender back. So you want to kind of set a maximum monthly payment to your lender. Fine, it's a fair game. You want to have a lower monthly payment, but lender said, okay, but I have to add your interest payment back to your principal, i.e., you are getting bigger and bigger balance of your mortgage. Sometimes the balance, your mortgage balance might be higher than the original borrowing amount after 2-3 years. Okay. How do you relate loan caps and payment? So these are some kind of gimmicks you learn from the US markets. Okay, the market is so diverse that everything is possible. So that you have an agreement with your lender. Fine, you sign a contract with your borrower, lender. Both parties agreed upon some conditions. So both parties have some sacrifice, have some benefits, what have you, right? So it's a fair game. Okay, so these some gimmicks or tricks can be found in U.S. mortgage markets, but not in other countries. So all the negative amortization or refinance below market financing, these methods, these business models just give you some ideas. How do we create something from nothing? In this modern era, you guys are, how about I call you guys millennials. Perhaps you are a little bit older, but it doesn't hurt. You guys kind of live on your mobile phones and all the time, just like us. But we started using mobile phones, say 20 years ago. You guys perhaps 10. I take it back. Perhaps 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you guys, when you were born, you are just used to it. So millennials may depend on the so-called internet products, internet things, or IoT so much that you just figured out how to do things in this way to create something from nothing. So long as you and users or internet users have some agreements like Uber Eats, Uber, right? Yesterday I took a taxi, the taxi driver, the yellow taxi, okay? The traditional taxi driver said, he said, well, it's very difficult to compete against the Uber, although Uber is in the gray area in any countries, right? But it's a market, it's a business model. Now Uber going into the eating markets, so-called the delivery markets, Uber Eats, now kind of doing different businesses. So below market financing, the negative amortization, or caps and payment, loan payments, payment caps. These are tricks offered by lenders, but borrowers buy it. Why? Both parties agreed upon some clauses or conditions. Both parties are happy. Then why not? Just do it, right? So you figured out how to. So you just do whatever you want. You just do whatever you can to make lenders, borrowers, online users happy, right? If they're happy, you're making profits. They're happy, perhaps they make profits. They enjoy it. Their utility is high, so-called in economic terms, utility. So dry that I need to drink water. I'm healthy. Don't worry, you guys. But if you're sitting in the class, please wear masks to protect yourself from getting infected. Okay. All right, next problem sets, and I think American Express gives us some new gimmick, new trick for investors. Okay. I love this case, and although the case was a little bit old, but kind of a classic, right? And how can we create something from nothing? This is a kind of typical case that gives us something is unthinkable, right? No interest rate. How can you create something, no interest rate product, and then you create interest rates for investors? Makes lots of sense to you guys, to you, the millennials. If you read the case carefully, and I hope you guys just figured out. And now I give you some something else, I'm thinking about to create some foundation, okay, which offers competitors on campus some funding to start up their businesses, okay? And the contributors might come from our EMBA students, current students, and the previous students to donate money to this foundation. And we will hold a competition on campus for, say, a digital startups or digital transformation, AI transformation, fintech, you name it. So, and then when the competition finishes, and we hope some startups spring out from the campus, okay? And the contributors may contribute more money to this startup or startups in later stage, or they may spin in the company, or I mean the startup created by the group of competitors, and then kind of a win-win situation. I hope this platform or the foundation will be set up soon or sooner than later. Perhaps next year, this time next year, we may have the first competition for you guys, okay? And then just figure out how to make things happen instead of just some business people, business owners have no ideas what to do in the so-called internet era. But you guys have no money, no experience. How do we combine the two forces together? So I hope this will be held next year, this time next year, and I hope you may prepare for the competition next year. Okay. The startup seed funding might be, say, from 100,000 NT dollars to perhaps $1 million NT dollars. That's my plan, and I may have some meetings coming soon in say May or June, and then have some of our EMBA students, some alumni getting together to make it happen. Okay, not just finance, perhaps in some high-tech startups areas. So if you guys just figured out what to do, we may just get together. Not just the finance program students. You may invite some, say, computer programmers or engineers. Say, get together to come to compete. Okay, that's my idea. To connect, to come. Yes.
We have similar thing in my university.
Okay, so how it works?
Actually, it works like it usually happen on the weekend, and it's like 3 days: Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, the teams, they are everything creating in the university. You have the idea, and you come with idea, but you can have some prepared thing, but actually you have to show what you did in 3 days.
Okay.
And there is from university professors,
Mm-hmm.
and just walking around. Then you have your mentor, and
Okay.
you can ask them to help you, and then in the Sunday, you have to present what you did.
Is it what you talk about a course, or it's
No, it's just for fun. Not for fun. You can get the idea, and who is win, they get the money to grade it.
how much on average?
I
You don't have.
know, actually.
Okay, you have no idea. Yeah, okay. Lots of universities have done this. I know, but we haven't done this, at least for my knowledge. I don't know yet. Okay, so we may have some competition here, there, but I want to make it kind of a platform. We want to do it in a consistent way. Next year, perhaps for the following 10, 20 years, to kind of make ideas work. I know there are lots of like garage competition in NTU, in other universities, not just in Taiwan, in Israel, in the US, perhaps in your country, you have this kind of competition. But I want to make it solid. You know, some business owners coming, they donate money, and then they kind of they know what can be done or what has been done. But some other things they don't know, particularly the new things, IT, IoT, or internet thing, AI, they don't know. But at least they know, okay, perhaps this market has the potential. They put money in, they put some connect, they put their whatever they have put into this platform and then make it work. I don't know if you guys have heard about any successful story that in your country, in your university, is any you know of successful, any project or anything that you have known successful. See, I know lots of things happening here, there, this campus, that campus, but I want to make it happen, make it work, make it successful. That's my purpose. You know, say there are 100 cases, 100 presentation. If there's one success, then that is successful, right? Just one. And then we can spin off, and then everyone enjoys this kind of a new development. And then this next year, there's one success, and 2 years from now, we have two successful. Then that is successful. Instead of just keep talking, and everyone is talking about innovation, creativity, design thinking. I want to make it happen. That's my purpose. Just give you some idea. If you want to do it, perhaps including all students, international students, exchange students. We just want to make things happen from this campus. Okay, yeah, not just talking, keep talking. We have courses called innovation, design, innovation, and management. Yeah, I know there are lots of courses called creativity or the kind of startup. I'm not saying it's a BS, but at least it's not put things word. Just talking, keep talking. I know how to talk. I know, but I want to make solid, make it successful next year. Just wait and see. I want to have some meetings next year. I mean, next month after the pandemic that have kind of tapered down, kind of cooled down, and then I may just start initiating this, and then I want to make it work. Just some ideas. Okay? I don't know, because all the so-called previous generations worry about the younger generations, and take it back, not worry. They don't know what you're thinking of or about. They want to know if your idea is workable. They have money, they have knowledge, they have experience, but they don't know what to do in the coming years. Okay, so you give them the ideas, and perhaps they just pump money in. So I hope you guys just have that. You guys already graduate, but for this class, you may have the opportunity. But alumni, like they can contribute if they want, okay, to this whole platform to make it work, to make things done, right? So so problem set number 4, and this one, let me see, perhaps so lecture 4 is about Fannie Mae, lecture 5 is about Freddie Mac. These are about products. And okay, these two problem sets pretty much cover not everything, most of the products available in the markets, in the securitization markets, right? But CDOs are perhaps out of the scope of this course. Sometimes CDOs are securitization of securitization, just like fund of funds. Okay. But if you know the basics, then you can derive anything further from the originals. So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the following two problem sets give you the ideas what the products available in the markets. Here, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac mainly focus on the mortgage markets, not car loan markets, accounts receivable markets. And what is the problem? No, nothing. I think just kind of pop up from, I don't know. I didn't see it, but nothing wrong. Can you hear me and see me okay? Everyone? Okay? Okay, you can, all right. Everyone? Okay, perfect. So the internet, flow is okay now? Everything good? All right, so Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac mainly are doing the mortgage businesses, and products are 100% related to mortgages. So we again, I think we talk about the so-called the primary markets, where mortgages are traded between buyers and sellers, purchasers and originators, and so on. Now we move from the primary markets to the so-called secondary markets, where MBS are traded, right? So we need to know how it works in the secondary market. Number one, what is the purpose of setting loan mortgage for the GSEs programs? I think we started the program in the 1930s up to 2020 today. GSEs require originators, or i.e. lenders, that they must conform or they must follow the regulations or rules set by the GSEs, the three GSEs, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and Ginnie Mae. And one of them is the loan limit. You can't sell, say, jumbo mortgages to the three GSEs, i.e., if you want to sell say 5 million mortgage loan to the GSEs, no way, you can't do that, because there's a loan limit. The limit up to today for single home mortgage is about 500,000 US dollars. 500,000 is probably the maximum. But if you look at your PowerPoint, it's setting the information or the limit was about like 400,000 in 2000, but now perhaps it's 500,000 or even 600,000 US dollars. For some markets, say in California, in New York City, the mortgage loans in those areas are much higher, right? For a kind of a 50 years old single detached house in California, you can sell it for like 2 million US dollars. If you want to buy the house and borrow money from a bank, fine, so long as the bank wants to lend you, say, $1.5 million, then you put $500,000 as a down payment, fine, so long as a bank is willing to lend you 1.5 million US dollars to you to buy a house. Unfortunately, this type of loan, so-called jumbo loan, $1.5 million, is not allowed to sell to the GSEs. Okay, can anyone answer me why this requirement is in place? Anyone here or online? Anyone? Why we set the loan limit? You can't. I mean, the GSEs are not allowed to buy jumbo mortgage loans, say higher than $600,000 or $800,000, for instance. Not 1 million mortgage, not 1.5 million mortgage. Anyone here wants to give it a shot? Yes, Gabriel? Good answer, but okay, that's correct. So reduce the risk of default of the jumbo loan. I agree, 100%. But can you think of something else that makes this limit meaningful, other than if you default, that would make the pool kind of very risky. What else can you think of? The long limit is set to reduce risk. I agree with you. Default risk or other risk. What else? From very basics of financial management. Not jumbo loans. If you put it in another way, portfolio theory, or in asset management settings, why? Okay. For the purpose of diversification. Okay. Are you with me? For the purpose of diversification, we don't want to put too much in one basket, right? 1.5 million, $2 million mortgage. That is way too much compared to 500,000 mortgage. So if $2 million mortgage is put in a pool, say it's 4 times riskier than $500,000 mortgage, 4 times, way too much. So setting the limit is for the purpose of diversification. Make sense? Yes. Right. Okay. Outline the products of Fannie Mae, and I think look at your PowerPoints, the problems, version of PowerPoints. So there are lots of products. Okay. And number 3, how do Fannie Megas work? So this is in the so-called secondary market operation. Fannie Mae as one of the GSEs, helping the economy or the financial markets complete or perfect. And why does Fannie Mae do this? To create Fannie Megas. Why so? Fannie Megas. So please read the PowerPoints. Fannie Megas are a product issued by Fannie Mae, and the main process or the creation of Fannie Megas is that Fannie Mega, take it back. Fannie Mae as a intermediary or broker, as a market maker, okay, to create Fannie Megas by buying issued MBS, Fannie Mae MBS from the markets. Why? Some of Fannie Mae MBS investors may want to have some liquidity. Okay, liquidity is the king, particularly in the financial markets. Okay, any product that has high liquidity means that risk is lowered. Okay, if Fannie Mae is able to buy back MBS issued by itself, then Fannie Mae helps investors get liquidity from selling MBS back to Fannie Mae, i.e., creating something from the original issued products, creating liquidity for investors. It's a good thing from the issuer's perspective. Okay, so buyers would be happy, right? If you hold something, say MBS or Ginnie Mae 1 or 2 and so on, but if you want to sell it, there's no buyer in the market, right? Then how do you, will you buy the products next time? Perhaps you will have a double thought because the products are not so liquid. So the three issuers or the two issuers, Ginnie Mae, I already said, not issuing anything guaranteed, but let's say three of the GSEs do create some markets to create liquidity for investors. I think it's a good thing for this market per se, right? Oh. Talking to computer is much difficult to you guys. All right. So Fannie Megas are something that for the purpose of liquidity. Okay. And then number one product today, from the beginning of the semester, is sequential pay process. Okay. Very unique and innovative products offered by Fannie Mae starting in 1980s. And starting from now, you need to pay attention to the cash flows of MBS or mortgages. Okay. And please help me to erase the blackboard. Oh, I think I need to have a microphone, otherwise it's way too far. I have to use lots of efforts. Would it get echo? Sorry? Yeah, way too far. That makes me talking a little bit hard. That made my, okay, no echo? Okay, perfect. Wonderful. I have done this earlier. Causing me a little bit hard to talk because of the distance. Okay. Oh, that'll be much, much better. All right. So this design is kind of genius. Okay? Cash flows A to Z. Okay. Or AB, BC, CD, and so on, YZ. Okay. No matter what, this type of arrangement is like you check your dictionary from A to Z, no exception. The first letter meaning the priority. A is always priority than B. You may have, say, CA, like this. Still, the priority is based on the first letter, not the second. When we talk about the sequence, it must follow the first letter of the products, ABC or BCA. It doesn't matter, right? Just like this is called lexicographic ordering. There's always order from A to Z, no exception. This is for the purpose of priority. You know who gets what and when, right? A must, this investor must receive all cash flows first, no exception. Cash flows, meaning that, do we have to worry about default? not for A, right? Okay, so yeah, I know we are concerned about defaults of borrowers. So now you understand the borrowers. Now, on the very left hand, right? Borrowers, right here, right? So there are lots of participants in the process, and then investors receive cash flows. So sequential pay class is the so-called classic, or starting from the beginning in 1980s, attracting so many investors. So this product created really, make us eye-opening in the 1980s. Okay? Class A or ABD investors receive cash flows first. The foremost beginning of the process. Will they be affected by defaults? I mean, defaults are just mild, not the serious situation. The 1% or 5% defaults. Will Class A or ABD investors be affected by defaults? Anyone here? No. That's why the first priority investors like this will have the safest cash flows compared to all other investors, the following investors. Make sense? Okay. Oftentimes, these guys are rated they are safest. Make sense? Of course. How about the prepayment? Ladies and gentlemen. Someone got a lottery and then $50 million coming to his or her pockets. Then he or she prepays everything to the lender. Will Class A, ABD receive prepayment cash flows right here? Everyone here? The answer, yes or no. 1, yes. 2, no. This is well-designed product. Class A will not suffer from defaults or losses at the beginning. So it is rated AAA. But how about prepayment? Prepayment cash flows. It's kind of a good sign, right? You prepay, so borrowers are lucky or, just so lucky to get something from parents, from whoever, right? Lottery winning or, win some games, $10 million coming in, $50 million or $500,000 million, whatever, right? Yes, prepayment cash flows will go to Class A or ABD investor. No prepayment because Class A is safe. I don't want to extra cash flows. When you have extra cash flows, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, right? Depending on interest rate movements. I think you know the theory, right? It's called reinvestment benefits or losses, whatever, right? Yes, prepayment cash flows will go to A class when it happens. No prepayment. Let's vote. You're not here. I cannot, right? So just how about our students here in class? Let's vote. What? So you guys, yes. 1, 2, 3. No. How about Victoria? Not sure yet. Answer is yes or no. You guys said no, right? No cash flows. But the answer is yes. It's a good thing. Money is going back to you. Why not? It's safe. Even safer, right? The only concern is the reinvestment risk. Right? If interest rates are moving downwards so fast that you have money in, but your return becomes lower, right? That's the so-called reinvestment risk. I think you guys know the theory. Reinvestment risk, when it happens because interest rates are moving downwards. You understand this, right? But it's nothing wrong. I give you money back. How wrong can that be, right? I give you money back. It's good thing, right? Why are you worried? Nothing to worry about. You have money back earlier, right? But perhaps you are trapped into the so-called reinvestment risk or reinvestment loss, right? So the design of sequential paid classes is that perhaps after this, I'll stop and then let the group 6 to present. Otherwise, we are unable to finish the case presentation. Okay? When class A, right? In this case, class A will receive P plus I plus prepayment. This is what class A will receive. Okay, do we know how soon class A will be retired or paid off? Can we predict? We can't. Why? Why? Gabriela? Why we cannot predict the duration or maturity of class A? Because of, we don't really know, right? So that makes things a little bit complicated. Perhaps a little bit sooner, perhaps a little kind of flat. We have no cash flows coming in. But sometimes if interest is moving downwards so fast that you have lots of cash flows coming in, that will shorten. If this is going up, your maturity shortened, right? Presumably, your class A will have a maturity of 2 years, 24 months. But if prepayment speed is faster, or much faster, then your maturity might be shortened to 9 months or 8 months. We don't really know. So that makes things a little bit riskier than you think. Class B, again, right? Some investors. Right? Okay, you listen carefully. This design is just outrageous. These guys are smart, so genius. When A is retired, take it back. Before A is retired, class A investors, all cash flows paid back to investors. Now you need to know who is doing what or receiving what. Borrowers must repay their money every month. Are you with me? Right? And at the very beginning, when I issue the sets of securities from A to Z, everyone knows what you will receive and when, right? Very clear. So the second priority investors, such as they are Tanya, right? This security BCA or B class, what have you, it could be, bacteria, what have you, right? It's not a good name for investors to invest, right? Okay, so when A class or ABB class investors, before all the A class investors are retired or paid off, before, right? Class B, rated AA, receive before A class investors are fully repaid before. Investors, all other classes except Z class, receive interests only, no principals repaid. Make sense? So prepayment, principal, and interest will be repaid to class A, and only interests, listen carefully, only interests are repaid to all other classes except Z class. We'll talk about that. If you read the PowerPoint carefully, you know how it works. Make sense? When A class is retired completely, everyone in this class is repaid principal and interest plus prepayment. All the cash flows go into class A or ABD investors. Okay? Now, A class is gone. Everything is paid back. B class or BCA class investors stopped receiving principals, prepayment, and interest. All other lower priority investors receive interest only. That makes the cash flows like a waterfall, like this. You know, priority class A, all principals, prepayment, interest, all other cases are receiving interest payments. When A is retired, and then B started receiving prepayment, principal, interest, like that. So it's like every period, cash flows are distributed like waterfalls. This kind of genius design in the financial markets. Everyone knows when to or what to receive. And all other cases will do the same. Z class is very special, or ZYX, or I take it back. So this, if this is called Z class, i.e., it has nothing to come in. Interest rates are kind of postponed until all previous investors or classes are paid off. Class Z starts receiving cash flows plus deferred interest, which are added back to its principals, i.e., Z class may have their principals ballooned to a level where deferred interests are added back to the principal. Who might it be Z class investors? Wants to give a shot? Z class sometimes very risky. Now, if defaults happen, lots of defaults, who will suffer first? Z class. Okay, are you with me? Z class may receive nothing, zero, because defaults are rampant. Lots of people, just default on their mortgages. Houses are foreclosed. Then Z class may receive cash flows when houses are foreclosed. Proceeds are received from lenders, and then investors of Z class may have some cash flows. This is the riskier and perhaps most risky assets in the portfolio. Who might be in this product, particularly? Anyone here? Hedge fund investors. Hedge fund. Make sense? Hedge fund. High risk, high return. Very high return, perhaps 20%, 30%. But you don't know. If you bet on this, perhaps you have 20%, 30% returns in 3 years or in 5 years. So This is well-designed cash flows. These guys just genius. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, not long ago. So now, if you know this create something from nothing, and this is one of the examples. I hope you can just find it out, how to make it work here in the so-called IoT or AI or internet era, and make it work. I don't know how, perhaps using your brain, your mind, to make things happen. Okay, so I call it, not call it today, I take a 5 minutes break, and group 6 to present American Express, and I think we'll finish at 4:10. Okay, 5 minutes break.